Good morning, Redeemer, and welcome to your daily word for June the 1st. As we look at John chapter 8, there are some wonderful truths in this particular chapter and some hard ones as well, as Jesus not only shows a woman caught in adultery his love, but he shows up the Pharisees several times. He pushes hard against them. And so you'll notice in verses, about 1, really chapter 7, verse 53, all the way to verse 11, we've got the situation with the woman who's caught in adultery. And some of you may notice in your ESV or in other notations in your Bible that it will say this section was not in some manuscripts. The natural question is, can you trust the Bible, or what's the deal with that? Well, without getting overly technical and derailing your daily devotions, I'll add this. There are certain things that have been inserted by scribes or certain notations that have been made, but overall, what translators have done is given us some helpful understanding of the variants in a few manuscripts on just a few different passages throughout the New Testament, but it doesn't take away from the value of a text like this, or at least learning something from it. It's consistent with who Jesus was and what he taught. And verse 11, when Jesus says, really, who's condemned you? In verse 10, the woman responds, "No one, Lord." And Jesus said, "Neither do I condemn you. Go, and from now on sin no more." Whether a passage like this is contested or not in some manuscripts, the truth is the same. Jesus forgives. He does not condemn his own, who he has forgiven and who has believed in him. But he does call us to go and sin no more. He goes on to explain that he is the light of the world, and anyone who follows him, in verse 12, will not walk in darkness. Similar themes that John plays on in actually 1 John, another study for another time, but we've been going through that on Thursday nights, and that sticks out very clearly to me. The Pharisees push hard in verse 13, saying, "You're bearing witness about yourself. Your testimony isn't true," because so often in their laws, you have to have multiple witnesses to affirm a testimony. Jesus says, even if I do bear witness about myself, my testimony is true because I know where I came from. In other words, I'm God. I came from the Father. I'm the Son of God. When I say something, it's true. I don't need two witnesses. I don't need you to affirm it. I don't need you to believe it. If I say it, it is actually true. He pushes further and then goes on to explain that the truth will set men free. Now, I want to stop here and dig in a little bit in verses 31 to 34, because a lot of people throw this passage out, go, "Oh, the truth will set you free." You might apply that to the speed limit. The truth about the speed limit will set you free from a speeding ticket. You won't get caught. Some people say, the truth about, the virus will set you free from fear. And they apply it to many different things. Listen, those all might be helpful statements here and there and everywhere, but here's the deal. What Jesus is saying is, "And you will know the truth," in verse 32. That's himself. "And the truth will set you free." Jesus said one verse prior, which gives us really the context of where that interpretation comes from, to the Jews who had believed in him, "If you abide in my word, you are truly my disciples." That's a heavy statement. You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. And then they answer him, "We're offspring of Abraham and have never been enslaved to anyone. How is it that you say you'll become free?" In other words, we're not a slave to anyone. What are you going to set us free from? Jesus says, "Truly, truly, I say to you," and don't miss that. Truly, truly, anytime something's said twice, it's a serious thing. He's saying, listen up very closely. "I say to you." In other words, don't worry about the law. Don't worry about your heritage. Don't think about who you are and what your history is. I say to you, everyone who practices sin is a slave to sin. The slave does not remain in the house forever. The son remains forever. So if the son sets you free, you will be free indeed. It's all about Jesus setting his people free. Those truths can help you every new day that you have, because you're reminded that you need to look to Jesus. And so much of the Gospel of John, of course, points to Jesus. John's purpose was to write so that people would believe. But over and over and over, the Pharisees proved to be those who constantly questioned him, constantly believed in themselves, their traditions, their heritage, their laws, their own opinions, their own ways. And Jesus over and over faithfully reminded them, told them, and you might as well yelled at them sometimes, "I'm God. I'm Jesus. I'm right in front of you. You're missing it. I am the truth. They go on to push pretty hard against him, and he says to them, you're of your father, the devil. So strong words again for the Pharisees in verse 44. And then it ends in verses 48 to 59 with a pericope, or a section, in which he once again affirms his deity. That's really what you could summarize chapter 8 as, an affirmation of God the Son's deity. Jesus saying exactly who he was and who a real disciple would be. In the end, verse 59, they pick up stones to throw at him, but he hid himself and went out of the temple. They wanted to kill him. We want to serve him. Be encouraged. You've been saved and set free. Your heart's been transformed. Your mind has changed about the Son of God, and your heart has been transformed so you can live for the Son of God today. Powerful truths from John 8. Looking forward to digging into John 9 tomorrow morning with you.